And welcome back to week 2 of the SCC. We're about to check in with Baskin and the boys and Elevate. Lermy Wormy, welcome back. Are you excited for these two teams to go head to head, skull to skull?
This is going to be a great matchup for sure. Like you said, Elevate has been performing well in these past couple of weeks, but I'm excited to see how this matchup goes up against Baskin and his whole army of boys. This is going to be a good one for sure. And honestly, I'm hoping it's a little bit closer than our last one.
I mean, you say that, but that second game, it was right up to the wire, and then, Hype you to take that fire giant and run it down mid. So definitely wasn't a not close game, but right? I get what you mean. Hopefully we'll see some super competitive games here out of the boys and Elevate. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Baskin in mid. I haven't seen Baskin in a super long time. He's obviously transitioned over to the mid lane a while ago now. So super excited to see what kind of things that he's going to be pulling out. Are you excited for any particular picks as we head into the P&B phase for game 1?
I'm excited to see if any of these Hecate abusers come through, and honestly, I want Mask to pull out Alquang. We barely got to see the tip of the iceberg of what Alquang can do in our last set with Layers piloting that one, but if he's allowed through, by all means, I want to see how it can work coming into a very late game.
And, Alquang, he be hungry, and I think a lot of teams aren't really picking him up and giving him his full potential. As you said, we only really got to see the very tippy top of his capabilities in that last game, as Yamoja is going to be the first ban. No complaints there. It's Yamoja. You don't want to see Yamoja in your game at all, because thank you, Elevate. Elevate understand that you do not give away Cthulhu if you're second pick. I just don't understand why more teams don't do this.
I mean, clearly they know something that many other teams apparently do not. Taking away that Cthulhu. No, my Alquang. I was so excited. How could they do this to me? I just wanted to see him pop off. Man, I jinxed myself.
It's just unfortunate. Poor us. Casters don't get to have any fun on here. But Persephone's going to be the next ban there for Elevate. Pretty common stuff. Not really any complaints. Again, all around
Freya.
Standard. And Freya. Wait for it. Drum roll. Nemesis.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, never mind then.
We saw Freya lose last game, so of course they'll insta lock in for the Freya. No thought needed in that pickup. But I don't know who it's going to go to. It could go to Meerkat, could go to Baskin. I don't know if Baskin is really on the mark with this Freya. I haven't seen him play in a very long time at the very least. But of course, it is Baskin. He can pick up anything at this point. So it could go to him. And yeah, okay, how come you get what you want, but not me? How is that fair, man?
It happened. Kuzumba being picked up for Elevate. I'm super excited. This is either going to go to Heed or Renjaru, Shia. Super excited there. Neith being picked up as well. Could go against the Freya in the mid lane. Could go against the Freya in the ADC lane. Could go against something else. So, interesting. And now we're seeing the Ratatoska. Right. I was questioning why Rat was banned out last time, because honestly, I think that there are better jungle picks, but hopefully we'll see Baskin and the boys do something well with this. But Erlang Shen is going to be the final pick for Baskin and the boys in this first phase. What do we think to this already here? Freya, Rat, Erlang.
If I'm Baskin and the boys, I want to play something spicy. I'm putting Mask on this Erlang Shen, and I'm setting this Rat over to the support lane, baby. Give me more support Rat. If I can't get my Alquang, at least give me support Rat.
Lemmy. Maybe it works. I think it's more than likely going to be this Erlang though. So, but you know what? I'm with you. I'm with you here. We're gonna get Rat support. That's what it is. We're converting
Blazy to Rat support. It's happening in live time here.
Nike and Hell are gonna be banned out here for Elevate. Raven being banned, and Arachne as well from Baskin and the boys. Not something that we see all the time. The Arachne a little bit more common, but the Raven is a little bit interesting. Soul being picked up for Elevate, so I think this is definitely going to be Soul ADC Neith in the mid lane, because Neith's a mage, Soul's an ADC. Change my mind. Amaterasu going to be picked up. I love Amaterasu. She's spicy. Love her. again, this still super flexible in Elevate. Any of these picks could go in one of a few roles, and
this is Baskin Cupid. It's Baskin Cupid, so
it's
we know where
Baskin
it's
Cupid.
going.
And Jing, I'm sorry, Lemmy. I'm sorry to have to tell you that you don't get rat support. It's Jing Chen. It's Jing hours. It's Jing time.
No. If I am Baskin and the boys, Xing Chen solo, Erling Shen support. Actually, no. I'm still sticking with this rat support. Erling Shen jungle, rat support.
This is one hell of a margarita mix of a team, but over on the side of Elevate, Camazotz is going to be picked in this last slot. I have no doubts in my mind that's going to be a jungle Camazotz. I don't think Amy has what it takes, but other than the Camazotz, I mean, that's fair. Other than the Camazotz, I can't really 100% determine what these players are going to go on Elevate, but let's find out right now, ladies and gentlemen, as we throw it into game number 1. It is in fact going to be Heed on the Amy jungle, Blugin on Neath mid, Shaya and Renjaro in the dual lane, and oh no, sorry, I was right. It was Amy solo and and Batman jungle. So okay, all right, we fine.
A little less abnormal than we were hoping, but again, we are seeing Baskin piloting this Cupid in the mid lane, and has been very popular recently, especially because he's just so valuable with that giant lane-wide purple field coming out of the Fields of Love, especially up against the Neath. I mean, this is the token counter to Neath. These two haven't really been picked up in the ADC role for what feels like years, right? But back in the Season 2 days, or however long ago it was, this is the absolute counter to this character. But Sol, Sol works out pretty decently, and that's kind of what people have been picking in recent years to deal with the Fields of Love.
Well, it's one of those things. I personally think that there are better ADCs to be playing, but I think Cupid as a mage, as a mid lane pick, is actually really, really interesting. That Fields of Love is kind of the bigger lore of Cupid, right? That and the healing. You get this big team fight ultimate, which you would normally expect from your mid lane player. I think it works really, really well, so I'm interested to see exactly what he's going to be doing with it. But on the same, in the same vein, Blugin on the Neath, as you said, definitely a Season 2, Season 3 throwback, these ADC mid laners, so really excited to see what they're going to be able to do with that.
Especially this Neath. We've seen how powerful Neath can be, piloted by people like Big Man Tings up in the SPL, so if they're able to capitalize on using this World Weaver to a T come the mid to late game, it's going to be real easy to farm some picks.
And picks, I'm sure they'll get. Blugin, it all depends on how well they're going to use this Neath ult, right? I want to see some proper Emelito strats where they just absolutely bait it, and they're like, hey, I'm just going to sit here in the mid lane and just channel my ult when I'm not doing anything, and then comms get cluttered, could look for a space in the, could look for a kill space somewhere else, but everything's super peaceful at the moment. Like, what is it with NA today, Lemmy? Did people swap NA and EU whilst I wasn't looking?
Today they didn't queue for Arena, they queued for Conquest instead, so, I mean, a little bit slower for sure, but we've definitely got some late game smackers here in terms of the characters selected. I mean, we're looking at an Amaterasu, and if you've been watching the SPL at all recently, you'll know that this character is probably the top contested solo laner along with Cthulhu, so having her on the side of Elevate in this game certainly will be something to look out for, especially if Heat is able to pilot it almost as well as Nika did in the SPL.
For sure, and Nika, I mean, I wrote in my notes, Nika is insane after that game, because Nika was insane that game. So hopefully we get to see that kind of same quality of Amaterasu play here, because, I mean, I can't overstate it enough. I think she's such an interesting pick. The way that you really have to communicate with your team, with the auras and the passive as well is what I'm trying to say, sorry. Just really, really interesting, and a lot of objective pressure here that was maybe otherwise missing from Elevate. The only real objective kind of ultimate or anything really that they have is this Soul, and obviously the Neath, the auto attacks, but no like big secure ultimates. As over in the left hand side, we're going to see a engagement here from Baskin and the boys. Blinking from not Gino. Gonna not really find anything at the moment as Elevate just backing off.
Not the best rotation there from Mask. As a seasoned jungler, you would expect that he would see, alright, they're pushed up super far, we're up against a soul. Doesn't look like the best rotation, I'm gonna go somewhere else. But instead, Mask does waste quite a bit of time actually showing up. And actually, he also kind of baits Gino into using the blink as well, because he thought, something's gonna happen, right? Might as well try and force it. But there's the dash in from Shia, so he's gonna actually get the beads off of Meerkat, which means we could be seeing a rotation from Spreen coming on over and forcing out the Valkyrie's discretion.
Potentially, and we're going to see just that. As Batman's definitely looking over here, but he might have smelt a different scent, as he might be looking over towards Baskin, but not quite going to find anything. Going to place a ward on the red buff, though, so that's definitely going to help him out with that information. But at the moment, Spreen is just looking for either someone to come between the two towers, or for Freya to take a step too far forward, but going to be looking for this purple buff here. Is Spreen just going to get the echo there onto the support, and then just kind of run away, because he's a bat and he's scared.
Yeah, a lot of time spent by these junglers over in the dual lane. This is kind of what we were somewhat hoping to see in our last set, but not quite to this extent. We see Mask pushing up here. Maybe he was looking for the speed invade. It was up, but instead he's going to try and put pressure over here onto Heed. He wants to steal away this blue buff because he knows the Batman's going to be busy, and the invade was successful. Poor Heed, man. He hasn't quite hit the place where Amaterasu gets her stride. It's about level 9, and we're sitting at level 6 right now, so a couple more minutes to go, and Heed will be up and ready to go, but like you said, unfortunate invade there is going to slow it down.
Well, he's just hit level 7, so not going to be feeling too worse for wear. The loss of the blue buff is going to impact him, though. Super mana hungry is Amaterasu early on, but I'm sure he'll survive just fine and go back to slapping Uzi, because that is what solo lane is. And over in the left-hand side, though, we see Gino trying to contest these Oreos, but Elevate's just going to take him away. They're not really too concerned about the Oreo eating power of Erlang Shen, but looking over potentially another skirmish in the left-hand side as Gino's looking to get aggressive.
At this point, Gino could, but it's going to be up to Spreen if he decides to make this rotation. And don't forget that in any of these fights, Bluegan could launch off a World Weaver, and out it comes. The focus is going to be onto the support, and Gino falls down, not respecting the global power.
That was, I mean, he just evaporated into the floor as the ultimate from Renjaru alongside his mid laner just completely shut down any potential from Gino to get away there. No, not really much help is Meerkat. He's level 6 on a Freya, so it's just unfortunate. You can't really expect him to be doing too much, but the Whoop is going to be good to avoid any threat from Shia. He's just going to run away. He's going like, oh man, I wanted to push that guy. Unfortunate.
Meerkat has been doing a great job of getting those whoops very accurate. That's going to be important, especially dealing with someone who has such strong displacement like the Kuzenbo. It is going to kind of make up for the fact that their jungler doesn't have a lot of CC, but something they really do have to consider is getting Shia some more extra farm, because at this point, he's got to kind of, like we said, make up for Spreen, who is actually slightly behind right now, despite getting that first blood.
Well, First Blood isn't going to stop Elevate from continuing to be super aggressive, as we saw just there on the left-hand side. Using the Blink is Shia to force out those beads from Meerkat, so that's going to set up the gank from Ratatoska. I'm expecting to see it as soon as his ultimate is up, which actually might take a while, so... sorry, not from the Ratatoska, from Spreen, who is up on the ultimate, so potentially look to see a gank there, or in fact another gank from Kuzenbo, and that looks exactly like what it's going to be. But up into the sky goes Kuzenbo. The ultimate from Neath is going to come through. Meerkat takes to the sky himself to mute out that stun, just stop any potential chase from Elevate there.
At this point, though, Gino has made his way over, and if the Freya had gotten stuck a little bit closer to that tower line, we could have seen the Supernova come out from Renjaru and grab himself a kill, and onto a Freya. That's going to be incredibly important, and the poke is almost good, but Meerkat, too slippery for this solo lockdown, able to get away and head on back to base.
You gotta respect, though, Renjaru, he's confident in himself, follows up from his own ability, expecting it to hit, and sure, he burns the ultimate, but if he had have hit the solar flare, then it would have worked. But really strong there. It's really important to follow up from not only yourself but from your teammates, which is something that I'm gonna want to be seeing from Renjaru more. as he starts working more with Bluegin throughout the rest of this game, as Oracles are going to get looked at by Baskin and instantly devoured by those two. They're basically both junglers at this point, right? Gino, Erlang Shen is just a secondary jungler when he's in the Guardian role.
Yeah, let's be honest. He kind of does a lot of that jungle stuff, especially considering he does have a pretty solid stim on his auto attacks. With the backflip there from Bluegin, it's going to make him somewhat vulnerable, but he is going to place down a weave at his feet at the tower line, which means he can sit there and basically be safe. You can't walk into that weave range and feel safe at all.
It's definitely one of the better parts of Neith, is that she's super. It's why she's so good for beginners, right? You got the weaves that are super easy to do some damage, to do some AoE CC. You got the backflip, which now that it's been buffed as well, is just probably one of the better ADC escape buttons in the game. But again, really interested to see how Bluegin is going to continue to use it, because we've already seen him really pulling out the stops for these ultimates. As in the right-hand side, the solo laners are going to exchange their ultimates. Did manage to secure the blue buff this time, did heed those. That's good. He's going to be happy.
I like the idea coming out from Uzi, but honestly, what do you get from using your ultimate there? You trade him out, okay, you make yourself and your lane opponent vulnerable to gank, so maybe if Mask wants to make his way over in the near future, for sure could be some good looks, and, you know, with he being as aggressive as he is, invading these back camps, could be good looks, but over there, the blink in from Xia is only going to force out the Valkyrie's discretion, but Gino's here!
The damage from the Valkyrie's discretion definitely doing so much there to help, but Gino not quite being able to find anything of his own. He's going to try and run away, but he's going to get pushed straight back into the ADC. And thanks to the blink in from the jungler there, Camazos is going to pick up a kill, and that's going to be 2 on the side of Elevate. That's just unfortunate. So much damage coming there from Meerkat on the turnaround, but not quite being able to follow it up is Gino, but here in the mid lane, yet another engagement. Up into the sky goes Masked. Not going to be able to find the knock-up. As I said, that backflip, super good at getting people away. That Acorn, though, is going to be so good, getting that long-range stun onto Spreen. He wasn't expecting that. Pushed into the wall is Masked now, who's going to fall down to the bat out of hell. There's another kill for the Batman. 3-0 on the jungler there. Beautifully played by Spreen.
Even though Spreen does have all these 3 kills, he is still lagging very slightly behind Mask, but going back even to that engagement over in the dual lane, Gino has not been respecting the global pressure from this Neith at all. We saw the ultimate come out from Bluegin yet again to slow down this Erlang Shen, and honestly, there needs to be some more respect shown for this character because she is back, and though we haven't been playing against her very much in the past couple of years, she hasn't changed all that much. They should know exactly when that's coming for them, and they got to be a little more aware of how much damage that actually is going to do. I know a lot of people have been surprised by the scaling on that thing, especially coming to the late game. Once you're there, could be chunking for up to 500 or so damage.
I think it's one of those characters that truly tests your ability to play as a team with good communication, does Neith. That global engagement power is something that needs to be called, and when you don't have that communication on your team, you can really start to break down in these fights when someone just gets picked because you just don't really know when it's coming. And if you're able to communicate that a lot, 120%, that is insanity. Especially in this mid lane where Bluegin is going to be looking to build all this power, and if we can have a look at the builds here, we'll see he's probably doing exactly that.
Oh yeah, he's got Transcendence, he's got the Mace starting up. Only thing I'm slightly confused about is going for the Ninja Tabi, but you know, you do love some attack speed on all your hunters, regardless of their build, so maybe just getting a little bit extra here and there to be able to box out ever so slightly. But again, Neith coming out on this left-hand side, Supernova is down as well. The stun is going to be good, but beats away by Meerkat, and he might be fine, but Solo might not.
Here comes the backup. Mask drops out from the sky, but he's not going to survive for very long, although the trade-out kill is going to be good from Meerkat, who puts him in the ground, but Shia isn't going to let that stand. You killed my ADC! Now get in a coffin! Now it's going to be not Gino and Baskin trying to find something else here, as Spreen looks like he could fall down here, but the jump is going to get him away nice and easily there. And now it should be the full retreat here from Baskin and the boys, although they do pick up some hearts. And Baskin picks up a double stun there with a heart bomb, but I'm not really too sure there's much else you can do here.
Not at this point. They've used all their resources. They're going to head on out, find whatever farm is available, and Baskin's going to pick up his little snack on that side, heal back up to full, and head on over to mid. But, we see this rotation coming out from Uzi, and I like the idea. He came over here really to ensure that even if his team lost the fight, there could not have been a Gold Fury aggression from Elevate. Fact of the matter is, you've got to respect that ultimate coming out from the Xing Chen, especially when you're all grouped around an objective like the Gold Fury.
It's one of those things, especially combined with something like Baskin's ult, Masked ult, Meerkat ult. All of these abilities can come together with a decent pluck from Uzi with the washing machine. So look out for that if Elevate don't watch their spacing. Although on the topic of Masked and his ultimate, I want to talk about the Acorn that Ratatoska's picking up here. I am a big stan for this. It's the Topaz Acorn, essentially, the one that gives you extra Acorns to fire out with your 3, makes that stun much more reliable, gives you extra percentage damage increase on the rest of your abilities, and just does so much to make Rat, in my opinion, worse Thor to, good in his own right.
Yeah, he's a little less of a Thor clone now and more of his own person, but speaking of being his own person, Mask is trying to get away and embrace his true self, but he can't get up into the sky. He's gonna get slammed there by a lot of damage, and Meerkat is trying to find the return pick on a Bluekin, but he falls down himself, so now, as he's made the rotation, he will be here, but it's not gonna do a whole lot this quite yet. We need to be a little more patient here. 3 members still grouped in this mid lane, and Gold Fury's up next.
It could definitely be on the menu, except Amaterasu, he'd falling back over to the right-hand side, which is really Elevate's whole objective game, so I'm not really sure if they can pick up this Gold Fury without him. And it doesn't look like they're even going to attempt to, as instead he's going to look to pick up a tier 1 tower in the right lane just as easily.
I mean, that was a free rotation. Nothing really came of the rotation from Uzi, so he says, alright, I'm gonna buckle down, take down this tower, and the next time I rotate, you're gonna have to deal with minions pushing even farther up. Not only that, but it's one less objective that Elevator are gonna have to chew through come the late game for them to be able to break into the base. And I mean, even if they don't go through that solo pathway, that's still a nice chunk of health that the Titan will not have coming up.
And it's all about these small things, right? As a wise man used to say, it's all about the stuff after the stuff. Baskin and the boys lose a kill in mid lane, Elevate, capitalize off that, they get some stuff after that small amount of stuff. And it's all about capitalizing off of it, and it's exactly what they did, though I do think I would have preferred to see a Pyro or a Gold Fury started up. It could have been just as easy for Elevate to go over to the right-hand side, clear Pyro, and then take the tier 1 tower. So I think a little bit of a missed opportunity, but when Elevate are 2k ahead already, it's maybe not too big of a deal.
I'm going to take a little detour here. I want to take a look at Mask's build once again. Earlier, Sam Forsoccer tweeted out that he was kind of just playing Nemesis with a random build generator on, and honestly, same could be said here about Mask picking up this serrated edge for some reason, but hold that thought as the Gold Fury's getting pulled. This might have to be a contest between these two.
It looks like it's going to be at least a jig, maybe even a hootenanny around this Gold Fury, as neither of these teams really want to commit anything too much, and they're just going to go their separate ways. But please tell me more about Mask's serrated edge that I have also just noticed thanks to your input.
It's a choice. I don't think it's a good choice, but it's a choice.
It's a decision.
It sure is something. He is kind of looking to capitalize on that power boost, but in order to get that, he's going to have to commit the dash in, and that's kind of what's concerning to me. He can save the ultimate to be able to get away, but normally you'd think that he's going to be using it to go in, so, I mean, if he's able to use that escape to engage, by all means, use that extra power and lifesteal to your advantage, but I don't think it's going to work out.
No, and I'm in the same boat, but over here by the Gold Fury pit, Uzi, instead of choosing to throw the people into his teammates, throws them away from the Gold Fury, resetting it. But Elevate aren't really going to let that stop them, and they're going to go straight back onto this objective. Already about one-third HP into the backline goes the solo laners, both of them, as we're going to see Master trying to fight off Heed, but over here in the backside, Ethan's going to have to backflip away, but the dash in from Master is going to be good, taking her to the ground. It looks like Amaterasu has won the better of that 1v1 situation down below the Gold Fury pit. Now Mast having to retreat, but still engaging onto the fight is Heed alongside his ADC and support pushing back through the Harpies is Jing Chen. Uzi's going to fall down here, and Elevate are going to go, well, essentially, we were doing this Gold Fury. You had to make a fuss, and now we're going to get it, and you die for it. Completely resetting the momentum of this game.
There was an 800 gold lead just a second ago, but now it's 2k in the favor of Elevate, and that will be the first Gold Fury of the game at 19 minutes, so might have been a little bit slow on that one, but at the very least, they are starting to make a push for this lead, and they've waited just long enough now that Soul's online. Everybody's got their Hecates and their Trans totally stacked, and everything you really need to make an engagement work. And check it out here, this chase down from the jungler of Elevate to take down the jungler of B&B, and that's just going to close out that fight real well. And not only that, but Elevate also will be securing the Pyromancer.
And it's starting to become my favorite phrase, which is a slippery slope for Baskin and the boys, who are looking like it could be a little bit of a rough situation coming back into this, but there is still plenty of Smite to play. 2 and 10 are the scores on the doors at the moment, but could be turned around. What kind of things should Baskin and the boys be looking to do in order to try and get their foot back in this door and stop Elevate from completely running away with this?
Mast, my guy, you really have to turn off this random build stuff. He's picked up a 4th item, Transcendence? Is this meta? Is this how you build Rat? Because I don't think I've seen anyone build Rat quite like that. He's kind of just building a lot of power items, a little bit of lifesteal here and there, but not really anything working out totally in their favor. They did get some good damage there onto Heed, but he's just going to dash away for free. Everybody's around the corner to make sure that the Soul Leader gets away, and I don't know, man. Mast has been in these fights. He's had impacts, but he could be carrying right now if he had an actual build.
Yeah, it's a little strange. I mean, even in this situation, you know, if he really wants to go for this Rated Edge, why not build it after the Transcendence? So you can get stacks?
Maybe?
Or no, not Crit Acorn. No, that is the incorrect choice on Ratatoska. But like, yeah, I completely agree with you here. I think Mask could definitely be having a bigger impact, but it's never too late to stack, right? It's never too late. So obviously he's going to be building this Transcendence now at 21 minutes into the game. He's going to get caught out in the jungle here by Heed, who's doing so much damage. My lord. Heed now, though, getting caught out against 2. Can he make Baskin and the boys fear him? I think he can. Look at this. He's just using Uzi as a source to charge up that mirror and then firing it directly at Mask's face. But
I mean, check out this build, though. He's got the Shogun's Kusari to work directly against the Xing Chen. He's got a Toxic Blade to be able to limit some of the healing coming through. And he is going to successfully invade this blue. And this is the power of Amaterasu. This is why we're seeing her so much in the SPL, because she can afford to build these things because she has such a great passive that scales with attack speed.
So, you know who does work well with Serrated Edge? Attack speed Amaterasu.
Oh boy.
So, I don't know. Maybe we see this Warriors busing getting sold off and traded out for the Serrated Edge, but I think the real contributor to Elevate's victory right now is the amount of sledge. There are 2 sledge on Elevate, only 1 on Baskin and the boys. Do the math, Elevate win. That's the only reason. Elevate could, you know, Baskin and the boys could play the best Smite of their lives, but at the end of the day, they just don't have the sledge to make it happen. As, you know, it's just the most important item at the moment.
It is a pretty good item, and honestly, I could see it being picked up on this Neath as well if she really desired. It does have 40 power on it, so honestly, committing to the sledge, everyone praise the sledge. It is the newest religion in Smite, newest pantheon.
Newest pantheon.
Matthew's coming through to try and make something happen. He does get the stun off, but Aegis is good.
No knockup available for the Rat, and he's going to get finished off nice and quickly there by the Neath ult. World Weaver is going to completely melt the little rodent from the tree, but now it's Uzi's turn. He's going to go in. He's going to be able to pluck Amaterasu, who's falling under tower, and the damage from Meerkat is really the one thing that he's going to be afraid of. He's going to fall down low, but is going to find his way out, but the same can't be said for his support. He's going to fall, and now Bat out of Hell is popped from Spreen to try and find his way out. Now it's Baskin and the boys looking like they could be in a position to defend this tier 1 tower, but Baskin setting at half HP and Meerkat not really looking like he could do too much with, oh, actually, no, his relics are up. It's just Valkyrie's Discretion that's down, so could have maybe looked for a bit more of a defense, but at the end of the day, it's a tier 1 tower, it's 23 minutes in. It's not really that big a deal.
No, but at the same time, he got to spend that entire duration over in the solo lane. Again, we're seeing this excellent prioritization of where the solo lane needs to go, and realizing he doesn't need to show up, but he needs to be here now, right? As this Oni Fury is about to go down, or so we thought. Is about to charge up that passive to be able to put some extra damage onto somebody, but until then, it will be leashed, and this is going to be a fight to the death around this, and with Heed finally showing up, you gotta give this Amaterasu some space, because she is swinging.
Heed my damage, says the solo laner coming out from Elevate. He's looking to do something here, but Baskin and the boys had a really good leash, and now we're actually going to confirm this Oni Fury now as the fight breaks out. Meerkat, unfortunately, no place to go but down in this engagement. He's going to get picked up by the mid laner. Now he's going to be masked. He's going to look to try and take to the sky himself, but not quite going to find his way up there. 2 players fall down, but Oni Fury is taken, so I think at this point it's still worth it, Baskin and the boys. They lose 2 players, they're behind, but they get those Oni waves that are going to help alleviate some pressure. But this fire giant getting picked up by Elevate now, I'm not so sure Baskin and the boys can do anything about this.
He's here, he does have the spin to win, so if he's able to get in range, he can at least pull someone off and distract him for a little bit of time, but it's not going to be enough because Elevate's secured away with that Supernova, and Uzi just gets held down. Nothing this Xing Chen can do to steal that one away, and like you said, Oni Fury would have been worth, but a Fire Giant and a kill makes it totally in the favor of Elevate.
All Uzi was able to do in that situation is clean off 3 members of Elevate with the washing machine before they get dressed and ready to siege up this Phoenix in the right-hand side, which is exactly what they're going to look to do. And with that Soul and Neath, it is going to be super easy for them to do just that. Setting up a weave is going to be Blugan, who's looking to do some heavy damage. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, look at this. Baskin picks up a Phoenix by himself, and that's going to be a pretty decent trade, especially if he can get back to help on this defense. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to, as it's already starting off. Sprint blinks in, but he's nearly going to fall down. He's going to take to the sky alongside Meerkat, both trying to fly back towards Elevate's side of the map, but Spreen's going to fall back, being able to find his way out, and now it's Baskin looking at Heed, but I'm not so sure there's anything this little devil man can do.
I mean, you think so, but these are the 2 carries of both of these squads. Baskin versus Heed. Who's going to come out on top? Stun is good onto the Ama.
One more.
She's juking in between the minions. Oboe Proc's not quite good enough, but he was real close there to taking down Heed, and that pick honestly could have secured Baskin and the boys a little bit more of an advantage, honestly, but Baskin did exactly what he needed to do. They did not respect the split push coming out from this little baby Cupid, and Phoenix for Phoenix, by all means, that's a W for Baskin and the boys.
Absolutely agree with you there, especially when playing from behind against a full team with Fire Giant, being able to trade out 1-for-1 Phoenix-wise. I mean, sure, they lose a tier 2 tower as well, but it's definitely worth it. I agree. I feel like I need to qualify, because both times I've made a statement saying, I'm not sure what these people can do with this, or I'm not sure if he can get anything with this. Teams have proven me wrong by doing something I completely did not expect. Like, Baskin, I was not expecting to be that aggressive onto Heed, nearly finds the kill, so really good on him, recognizing the amount of space that he had and the amount of damage he could do to this Amaterasu.
Baskin is a seasoned veteran of both the SPL and the SCC at this point, and he has been a top performer for basically his entire existence in the league. This man is not one to be messed with, and clearly he's got the brain power to follow up on the brawn. He hits like a truck, and he thinks like a supercomputer. He really is the main carry of this squad, so they've got to put more focus into him if Elevate really do want to take this game.
Well, taking the game, definitely the objective. There is no other objective. It's just taking the game. They're going to take that tier 2 tower over in the left-hand side, and it looks like Baskin and the boys are probably doing the smart option here of just going, okay, they can take the tier 2s, that's fine, it sucks. They're going to get a lot more gold out of it, but at the end of the day, we only really need to defend these Phoenixes, and with the extra fire wave pressure in mid, it could actually lead to a proper defense of this tier 2, especially with Fire Giant buff should be running out on these Elevate players relatively soon here, so really got to be looking to push down this tower, and with this wave, it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. As already the engagement has potentially started, but Wave falls down before it's even begun.
Baskin's gotta be careful. He needs to hold onto the Fields of Love as long as possible, because that's exactly what Elevate need to burn away in this engagement, because if they all group up in the fields, they're gonna be taking a ton of damage, and it could be the same thing for this whirlwind of action as the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel comes out, but the one who goes down there is Uzi.
It's a lot of damage, and Shire does trade out, so it's a 1-for-1 so far. Damage from Master is going to be good, forcing Spreen to take into the sky with only a slither of his HP left. And now it's Baskin and the boys surging forward. The whoop is going to be good, and Soul comes down and just absolutely disapparates into nothingness as Baskin and the boys continuing to push this luck. One more player should fall down here as Lugan looking to run away from Baskin and the boys, but it's not going to quite work out for him. Now Heed, not the only one left alive, but certainly the only one left alive on the board in the actual map itself. He's going to be able to find his way safe, and Matarasu just got way too much movement speed for anyone to chase down, especially with this Toxic Blade, but Baskin and the boys looking up to re-siege this Phoenix, and honestly, I think they should take that and run.
They could be able to keep going, honestly, but there it goes up and down in an instant. They're able to run away successfully, but they left Meerkat on his lonesome. He's gonna have to hit a nice whoop if he wants to get away from Heed, because this man is in the speed stance. He will be able to chase him down, and he is going to use the aggression here onto him, but Mask is here to maybe save the day.
Oh, Mantle of Discord comes out stunning Bust, so he's not able to save the life of his ADC. Very, very well played there from Heed. I mean, it's the kind of things that I was saying Amaterasu can get away with earlier. This god is just so powerful, as you just said, so speedy there with the speed stance, with the Toxic Blade, just able to run anyone down. And now in the mid lane, Baskin forcing out, is that beads and ult from Spreen, or just, it's beads and ult, using the beads to be able to make it into the bat out of hell. That's going to be huge there for the jungler, not able to do anything. Now it's Uzi, potentially caught out, but he's big tanky boy. I'm not really sure he's in any danger here, but just going to place a ward around this Fire Giant as the dance has begun. It's a tango, Lummy.
At this point, yeah, it's gotta be. This might be the last Fire Giant of the game, because it is enhanced, and there's already a weakened Phoenix on each side. Ultimates traded out by the Soul Laners means that Uzi might be the one getting caught out. He's got no more jumps and no more CC immunity. It's gotta be up to him to get out of here, because Shia tries to say no, but he ends up making it out alive.
Using the blink, super useful there for Uzi. Blink plus jumps equals staying alive. Ha 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 ha. Fire Giant is now being looked at. It is 31 minutes into the game, so this will be enhanced. And now with the positioning from these two teams, I'm not really sure if anyone can do it, but if anyone can, it will be Baskin and the boys, especially with Shire looking to make his way back down here, still in base, but Baskin and the boys don't look like they have any interest. Instead, looking to group around potentially on the left lane and looking for this Primal Fury.
At this point, they could be going for it, but they need to recognize that all the members of Baskin and the boys are on this left side. The optimal play here would be to go for this Fire Giant, but they just aren't aware of it. It's down. They know it's happened now, so they've got to just collapse on Uzi here and hope they can take him down before everyone else shows up.
And that's exactly what they're going to do, but Jing Chen using those jumps super effectively. Going to get ulted on by Heed here, but Heed's all alone, and so is Uzi, so not the most impactful dazzling offense that could have happened there. But, I mean, it stunned Uzi for a few seconds whilst Elevate took the Pyromancer, so that's something at the very least, but Baskin and the boys now in a prime position to look to engage onto this Fire Giant here. They got the Primal Fury buff. They've got everyone here at level 20. Baskin and Freya are full build. However, if we're looking at pure secure power out of both the ADCs on both these teams, I would definitely give it to Soul Neath rather than Freya Cupid.
Gotta agree with you there, but if we're looking at area control, that's where Baskin on this Cupid will excel. He does have the Fields of Love available, so that will definitely deter people from stepping in that area at the very least, and if they're able to interrupt the damage for even just a moment coming out from Elevate, that could be an easy steal for him. So I'm really hoping that they're able to utilize this ability effectively, because if they can, this Fire Giant's as good as theirs.
We'll have to see how it breaks out, as the jump in from Spreen isn't really going to be able to do much. The bats are off the mark, and now it's Uzi who's surrounded at the moment. Used the whirlwind of Rage and Steel. He's going to fall down already, but here comes Nice ultimate there from Ratatoska, picks up 3. That actually is going to be good. Just send Bluegan into the ground without being able to use his ultimate, so that's going to be huge. Now it's going to be Camazotz picking up a kill for himself. It's 2-1 at the moment, making that 3-1, as it's going to be Heed picking up another kill. So much damage here on this Amaterasu. He could even potentially turn around here onto Meerkat, but the damage from Freya must be heeded. And the solo laner from Elevate is going to find his way back to base, potentially starts the back, but sees Shia backing and potentially looks to lick his lips. Meerkat's in the jungle, but look at that lifesteal.
Yeah, no shot here that he gets this kill. Half health now, and Meerkat's got a ton of lifesteal around his belt, including the passive. I don't know why he stuck around for this long. One whoop, and it might be the end for he. He's going to have to use the dazzling offensive to get away, and man, that just was such a strange position to be in. We've seen Heed pop off all game, and one little mistake like that and a little bit later could really have been the end.
It's just unfortunate by the looks of things and how Elevate is positioning. It looks like maybe he was trying to bait out for a kill onto Meerkat, but now it looks like it could have succeeded, although I'm not sure if he needed to. Ultimate from Bluegan is going to come through to force out so much, but it's actually going to be Kuzenbo getting credit for that kill. Could be Renjaru being pressured out here, but only the tanky boys available for Baskin. And nothing really much else is going to be able to come from this fight. And is it just gonna scuttle away? Everyone's gone.
Once again, we're seeing another reset around this FG, and it is an enhanced fire giant, so you'd really hope that they are going to take this fight seriously, and certainly they have, trading back and forth a couple of members each way every single time, but for there to be an actual full committal to this fire giant means that somebody's got to be out of position, and if they're going to be out of position, the next place they'd be is the Oni Fury, and that's coming up in just a minute and a half, so if they're able to wait for that, we could see finally some sort of secure.
Potentially, but it actually looks like it could be Uzi, the first one to fall here. Tries to capitalize off 2 people being knocked up there by Fire Giant, but it's actually going to be him falling down. Spreen claiming that unstoppable position there for himself. So potentially looking for some extra positioning here are Elevate, but not going to matter too much. Mast jumping in, but again, this is just a pick, runaway, a pick, runaway, no pick, runaway. When is this going to turn into an actual committal?
They could look to pick out Gino here. Gino does not have any sort of survivability other than using the dash. So if, for instance, we could see Shia pick the dash from Gino by giving him a nice little push back in the direction of his team. And of course, there's tons of CC lined up on almost every member of Elevate to slow him down. But the pick call is going to be on the backline. Meerkat getting forced into the Valkyrie's discretion. And here comes Heed to try and take him down.
Heed my damage, mortal, is what Amaterasu is saying to absolutely everyone on the board. Creates enough space, however, though, for Baskin to pick up the first kill of the engagement. He's going to put Spreen in the ground. Uzi is about to respawn here, so he is going to be back up into the fight before the jungler from Elevate. So this could be potentially the opportunity that we'd been waiting for. Fields of Love is available, so is Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. Nothing else really up, though, but those are the 2 ults that Baskin and the boys are really going to be wanting for this Fire Giant engagement, and looks like it's not, yet again, not going to be an actual fight of the Fire Giant, but just around it.
She has got to be careful. He is sitting at about 75%, so he's decently chunked down, but now it means that both the ADCs can swing away at this EFG. He's looping around the back. Someone's got to get in there to try and mix up this fight, and instead, Mask is going to be the one to push forward because both the backliners are by themselves.
Once again, it gets backflipped away from Does Mast, but it's going to create the space that they need to take down Shia, who's going to fall down with a minute cooldown there on his life. So back to the Fire Giant. Go Baskin, back and forth goes this fight. It's like the waves. No one is going to get knocked up here, though, which is what Heed was waiting for, but sneaking around the back line, but the knock-up from the Uzi is going to be good. Can he get away now? Valkyrie's discretion is forced out. Heed manages to find his way out on the back, and once again, Baskin and the boys are pulled away from this FG, but now it doesn't look like anyone from Elevate is really in a position. Fields of Love go down, and this could be it, but it's actually going to be Baskin and the boys. They are going to be able to secure it. And now here comes the ensuing fight. Looks like Meerkat isn't going to survive, neither is Masked. And I'm not sure I can say the same for Gino as well.
Gino is doing his best to run away, but that faster backflip is going to almost catch him out. The blink will get him away for now, but it's all about losing the trail. If they can manage to sneak away here, that's going to be a big W here for Gino. And it looks like he might have actually outrun everybody chasing him. Heed is still looking, but the chase is futile. Gino makes it out alive, but like you said, 2 go down at that Fire Giant engage, and it is secured for at least 3 members of Baskin and the boys, but it's everyone from Elevate getting aggressive.
It's also unfortunate that it's on your jungler and on your Freya ADC. Those are 2 big Fire Giant cooldowns to not have when the rest of your team are trying to siege up, but Baskin still does have it. Uzi and not Gino are going to have it as well, so a lot of regen coming out from these tanks, a lot of damage coming out from the tiny Devil Child, but I don't know, only Fury's going to come down here from Elevate, and with they did claim the tier 2 tower in mid as well. I'm not sure who I favor at the end of the day.
At this point, it's going to be at least moderately an Elevate favor because they will have those Oni minions charging down every single lane. And you can see here just exactly what happened to Shia. He got bursted down there, but everybody kind of gets split up. They're going to go back to this Fire Giant, take it down successfully, but there's going to just be so much damage followed up on top of that. And a lot of it is coming from this Soul, who really has truly contributed to so much of the area damage that is kind of lacking from Anit.
And I think it's a really smart play from Elevate here. They realize that this dance around the Fire Giant is going to go on for so long that they instead, I almost feel like, allow Baskin and the boys to pick it up after these back and forth engagements getting their HP bars down, but hold that thought as the siege of the right side tier 2 is going down. Baskin and the boys are yelling timber. They better move, and down it falls. Now it's going to be Baskin and the boys yet again, looking to surge forward. Still 3 Fire Giant belts available for this blue side team. So let's see if they can push into this Phoenix, as starting off the party already goes Uzi blinking into the backline. Not going to be able to find anyone with Whirlwind and Rage and Steel though, but here it comes. Not quite able to find the Kuzumbo, who's also going to launch into the ultimate. Trading them out 1 for 1, and I think that could almost be the end of this engagement, as Baskin and the boys now need to wait for another wave.
They're trying to bait them out, though, because Master's waiting in the wings. He's got through the Cosmos, could hop onto the tree branches and hop on over to the right side, but they've got to be paying attention. There's only minions on their Phoenix, and now Master's up. He's looking for a fight, and everyone from Baskin and the boys are popping into this Phoenix to open it up.
Down falls Mast, and within an instant, the Phoenix is melted, but the same could be said for 2 of the health bars on Baskin and the boys. Finally finding a return is Meerkat, but Bluegan is going to be able to jump away. The Whoop is not going to be on the mark, but Baskin finding another kill for himself, making this an even 2 for 2 trade alongside the Phoenix. But as you said, here in the mid lane, over on Baskin and the boys' side, that Phoenix is looking mighty low. The wave on the left could also take down that Phoenix there, but now it's going to be Shia, who looks like he could fall down here. Not much HP, but he's going to pull Gino in. Gino not quite having the damage to deal with that tanky boy, but another Phoenix falls, and now it's Heed looking in trouble. Oh my goodness, the damage is just so potent. Baskin looking to follow it up alongside the rest of his team, but if I'm Baskin and the boys, I'm looking at this tier, the tier 1 tower left is still up. Well, I guess Heed's safe then.
Hey, good job, Renjara. You kept your tower up for 40 or so minutes, and that's not something you typically see in games that go this long, but very, very good siege coming out of Baskin and the boys, able to claim 2 Phoenixes with minimal losses. Of course, the Rat and the Xing Chen do fall down, but you'll take those. Baskin says, yeah, I'm the star here. I'm going to be the one punching the Phoenix down and doing a ton of structured damage. And he's already doing a lot of player damage, too. He's got 46,000. He's got more damage than we have minutes in the game.
It's nearly a whole 20k up from anyone else in the game. That is insanity from a Cupid. Like, it just really goes to show the potency of Fields of Love in these big AoE fights, as alongside Baskin's willingness to just dive in and be like, okay, I will take this fight. This is fine. I will murder you.
Baskin really has been on top of the 1v1s, and even the 1v2s, he's not afraid of taking those either. And clearly, Cupid, with this kind of a build, will swing. The Titan's Bane doing work on top of the power that Transcendence brings, and another EFG has spawned now, and Elevate could contest this, but honestly, I don't know if they can. They've got 2 Phoenixes down, and of course, they are in a good spot to be able to push up those minions. They are in the 2 places where you're typically going to be, but you can't be leaving them for too long, because if you do, you're going to risk putting fire minions in your base.
And as spicy as this tango around the Fire Giant is going to be, it's not going to be as spicy as those Flame Archers minions shooting your Titan down to half HP before you can even react. It's going to be Baskin and the boys trying to test out this EFG. It's going to fall to about half HP before they go, hey, we should maybe look for this fight. And now it's Heed. He's caught out. He's completely out of his depth. He's going to fall down before the fight's even started. Thanks to Baskin. Now it's going to be the rest of the team in danger. Downfall's Mars trying to find the kill onto Spreen, and he's going to do just that now with 2 members dead. There's blood in the water, and Baskin and the boys are surging forward. Another kill lands the way of Meerkat. Blinks coming through from both of the supports to try and run away, but Shia is looking a little worse for wear. The pin is going to be good, but a turnaround kill from Sol is going to be better. Gino falls down, but I'm not sure he's going to be too complaining about that, because that's the end of the game, Lermy.
It really is. There is not a single thing that anyone from Elevate can do. They're all on the black and white screen right now, because this is just the end. The Titan has been totally demolished, and that was honestly Baskin throwing everyone in the backpack and saying, all right, boys, we're running it down.
This was one of those games that went from real slow to real fast to real slow, and then as soon as that first Fire Giant falls, it was just bang, bang, boom. Everything happening at once. Baskin and the boys, you know, it's a similar story to what we saw in the last set, you know? They fell behind early, but they were able to hang in there. And thanks to that perseverance, they were able to pick up a Fire Giant, pick up some towers, pick up some kills, and eventually win the game. So, I mean, good on them. They're really showing their experience here in these games. I love what Baskin brought to the table here.
Gotta agree with you. He really was the shining light of this squad, and you really gotta give it to him. When it comes down to it, Baskin will win the 1v1. You have so much faith in your teammate. They've got all the skill in the world. It's just all about team play. Of course, they probably could have gotten it done a little bit faster should there have been a couple fewer mistakes on either side, but all in all, for what it was relatively clean. It was okay. A couple of Phoenixes lost here and there. They're going to clean it up in Game 2, I have faith.
It was relatively spicy. In fact, I don't think I could even call upon a bad performance from either of these teams. The closest I could get is Gino maybe not really feeling too much of an impact on this Erlang Shen, but even then, 0313 definitely not slouching, but I don't know, that's about as close to a bad performance that I could really pick out. But I think all the players on this team, on both of these teams, actually showed up.
I agree. It's all going to come down to who has the better late game comp when it goes to that 45-minute mark, and it definitely was Baskin and the boys. I mean, you've got Freya, you've got Baskin on the Cupid swing for a ton, and of course, Azzy is just so incredibly tanky at that point. And of course, Mask, you know, he has his build. It's a choice, and you know what? It worked out, so I'm going to give it to him. If you want to build that, I see now it has a ton of power. It's got that little bit of utility, so by all means, if you're allowed to get that rat again, do it again. Prove to me that this is the build that works.
Lamy, are we really encouraging third item serrated edge on Ratatoska? Is that what we've come to?
If it works, I mean, okay, I'm maybe being a little too results oriented here, but by all means, if he can find a way to get into that niche situation where it works, you get the extra power, extra life steal, whatever. He finds that niche and he nails it.
I mean, yeah, we saw actually a pretty mixed bag from Musk. Sometimes he was hitting 4 people, sometimes he was landing on Bluegin, who just backflipped away because, of course, he did. But to be fair to him, most of the time when that happened, he was able to follow up the dash, get the stun off, really play it well. So, I mean, like I said, I'm picking at straws here to try and find little nitpicky things that these players did poorly, but overall, I got to give props to both of these teams. This has probably been the most competitive match of SDC that I've seen, and hopefully it will continue as we jump into picks and bans for Game 2.
This is going to be a very exciting one, and I'm honestly hoping that Elevate makes this adjustment, and clearly they have. They are now heading over to this first pick slot, and this makes me think that they might be aiming to take away this Freya from Meerkat. Just keeping that character out of the hands of either Baskin or Meerkat, and really just anyone on the side of Baskin and the boys is a good look. That character absolutely shredded come the late game, and of course you could choose to respect ban away the Cupid, but honestly, I think Baskin would have fragged just as hard as any character, so you can't really ban him out, and that just remains true from his days in the SPL. You can't ban away Baskin.
Yeah, and we're seeing Hercules being first banned here by Elevate, potentially a shot there at Shia, who, I mean, if he's playing Kuzenbo, he's probably very comfortable on these aggressive warrior picks as well, so can't really deny him that. Hercules as well has been a really, not necessarily dominant, but a very contested, very strong pick so far in the SPL. Cthulhu's, you're part of your balanced breakfast. The new cereal Cthulhu's getting banned out there from Elevate with a response with an Olaran from Baskin and the boys. Still no Freya ban, so I think you might be right about Elevate trying to take it away from Meerkat, who definitely played well on it last game.
Kwang ban, and a very similar note to Olaran. Just want to get rid of anyone who can abuse Hecate, and Baskin and the boys making the smart move, saying, "Yeah, they're gonna pick up Freya. We're just gonna get rid of it." By all means, that is the right call, I feel. But we have left open Yamoja, so I'm feeling that this is Elevate snap locking this one, but it's gonna be the Nemesis instead. Really.
This is a recurring theme tonight, Lamy. We're predicting something, and then Nemesis happens. It's just always the Nemesis. I don't understand, but definitely a strong pick. I'm not really sure how I feel about it first, as it's definitely, I feel, more of a counter pick. But Baskin and the boys not letting this chance go to waste. They're going to pick up the Yamoja. No complaints there. Yamoja is just the best support at the moment. I don't think anyone's going to call me out for saying that.
No, you're getting canceled on Twitter like right now. They have a clip of that. It's on Twitter. Hashtag cancel Blazy Bard is trending on Twitter. But back to picks and bans. We've got Soul selected once again. But on the other side this time, Baskin and the boys will be taking this Goddess of Fire over on their side. Mixing fire and water in the dual lane could be a good look for them. And honestly, I'm here for it. But again, Elevate is going to go for this Uller. And we've been seeing a little bit of a focus onto banning away this Uller recently. But it is going to be in this game at the very least.
Well, I'm assuming this is going to be a Baskin special. I mean, Ula, I think, definitely very strong in the mid lane at the moment, and it plays into the similar style that Baskin was looking for. You know, high damage, decent mobility, being able to get in and out of these fights. So we'll see that. Uzi being able to run back this Xing Chen, no complaints there. I thought he did a really good job on it. And Habwa being picked up by Baskin and the boys. Now, listen, I really want to see an Earth character and an air character, because then Baskin and the boys will truly be embracing the season pass, the Avatar season pass, which you can pick up right now on SMITE.
Yeah, uniting all the nations is a really easy way to pick up some dubs, and Baskin and the boys are halfway there. They've got 2 represented, but they're going to take away time. Not one of the 4 elements, but certainly an important one to consider. Kronos is yet another Hecate abuser, and Elevate are going to choose to actually ban away the Neath, despite there probably already being a mid and an ADC picked up. But of course, we have seen Hubwa flex into the jungle, and I am happy to see them banging away physicals, because I don't really think that Baskin and the boys are going to opt into a 4 magical comp.
Well, there's the Cupid ban as well. No Cupid for Baskin, but similarly so, Baskin and the boys have definitely learnt their lesson. They're going to ban Amy away from Elevate. No complaints there. And now Nike being picked up by Baskin and the boys. I both simultaneously really like this pick and really dislike this pick. I think she's pretty good against the Xing Chen if they're going to put her in the solo lane, because ultimate away from the washing machine, other things happening, but okay, well, it's not, this is, my whole plans for what this game were going to look like just went out the window because King Arthur just entered the fray.
You and I had the exact same reaction there. Ever since Gladiator Shield basically got removed from the game, the passive changed, and it's now a tier 3 item after the mid-season. King Arthur has kind of been out of the mix, but with Soul Eater being another common item for solo laners, he kind of still gets that Gladiator Shield sustain, but not to the same extent because there's no defense or anything like that, and it's a lot more expensive than a regular old Gladiator Shield. But Hachiman here to round out this comp from Baskin and the boys does confirm that this Hubwa will be going in the jungle. I don't think that they throw the squishy character into the solo, so at the very least we will be seeing Hachi and Soul flex in either the mid or the ADC.
I'm really happy with what Baskin and boys did with their comp here. We've been seeing a really, not a heavy tendency towards tanky characters, but more towards this kind of physical health bubble, more like. And with the Nemesis being picked up, that really plays into it. So they did a really good job of picking around that Nemesis pick, which is why I think it wasn't so good to start off with. But we'll see how this pays off for them as we head into game now. I want to see this King Arthur do work, because I'm a little sketch on Arthur. He's kind of one of those characters where there was the whole meme, you know, Arthur doesn't get to play the game until he buys Glad Shield. And then they removed Glad Shield. Does Arthur still get to play the game, or?
At this point, he could. He still does have double the abilities of a normal character, so he will be decent at least poking out Uzi. But again, he is pretty decent sustain. Both of them do, at least when it comes to, you know, Uzi having that HP 5, and of course he'd eventually picking up the Soul Eater. I would assume so. At this point, he's only got the Warrior's Blessing and a stack to his name, but both these guys have opted for the teleport, no surprises there, and of course this Hubwa will be piloted by Mask up in this jungle.
So we've been seeing a lot of Hubwa in the jungle recently. It's kind of one of those picks that comes in and out of favor. Why do you think we see it now, though? What specifically has changed in the jungle to allow for Hubwa to make his return?
I think, honestly, it's just because he has a lot of solid poke damage. He's able to kind of do the thing that junglers do and completely eliminate someone if that crashing wave comes through, but at the same time, he is able to decently poke, and everything's on a pretty low cooldown, and of course, you know, not being a physical character, it does take a little bit more time to generally chew through those camps, as your auto attacks, you know, don't tend to do as much, but at the same time, having a 3-second cooldown on the water hands, basically the same thing.
Well, that makes total sense. I'm sold. I'm sold on Hubwa Jungle. Congratulations. I do want to touch on the fact that we were incorrect about Baskin, though. I would have expected the Hachiman in the ADC role more traditionally picked up, but apparently he's a mid laner now.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Baskin honestly can play anything, so I don't hate it. But, you know, we've seen quote-unquote worse before. We've seen Hu Yi be meta in the mid, where there's, like, not really a whole lot of walls to work off of to get those sick ricochets. But we also saw on her earlier today, piloted by Stopson. Unfortunately for them, it didn't work out so hot. But regardless, Hunters in mid is nothing new. But for Baskin, it seems to be his bread and butter at this point.
And, I mean, why blame him? He's been showing some incredible performances on these mid Hunters, so why change? It's just a bit of a perplexing option going for the Hachiman. I feel like there are better options in this mid engagement. I think, well, I was about to say Skadi, but we all know Cold is the real god in that engagement. But I think that's also maybe an understatement. Skadi not really being too great at the moment, but Hachiman, I think I'm yet to be sold on the Hachiman mid.
I think it's okay. Of course, Hachiman is one of the safest characters out there, and kind of that's what the plan is, it seems, from Baskin and the boys. They've drafted 2 carriers that have a lot of self-peel, not to mention that Gino is on this Yamoja, another character that can provide a ton of peel or a ton of aggression, depending on how Gino plays it. And honestly, I wouldn't have expected Gino to go to this as quickly, but that just goes to show you how meta this character is. Yamoja is just plain old insane when it comes down to it, and even a player who loves the Warriors and loves playing aggressive like Gino, he's more than happy to pick it up.
Well, that's one of the beautiful things about Yamoja, is that she can almost play this double life, where if you play her a certain way, she can be super aggressive. If you use the Riptides to pull people back into you, if you use the Moonbeam to stun out people, like, all the time, which is, to be fair, just Yamoja things. But she can also play the super defensive style with the healing shield and all this kind of stuff. So I definitely don't think it plays against Gino's propensity for aggressive picks, as we actually see him using the Riptide for another use, and that is survival.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to be all about not getting caught out. No junglers have really made any solid rotations yet. It's because both these guys are really dependent on their ultimates. I don't think that they really could be grabbing a kill at this early game. We're seeing more of a late game focus from these two at the very least. And honestly, if they're going to pick one place to focus, it might just be easier to go over to solo.
Potentially, and especially with, well, okay, so once again, I'm still not sold on the King Arthur, right? But King Arthur in his prime was definitely one of those characters who you wanted to focus down on whenever you could to make sure that he wasn't getting any sort of a lead. So definitely could be seeing some ganks over towards Heed, but doesn't really look like either jungler is doing that. The closest we've seen either of these players get to a lane is well, splitting farm with the mid laner, but getting oracles, I suppose.
At this point, I'm honestly hoping that they go for some kind of buff invasion. Honestly, the easiest place to do it will be over in solo. Just show up to the timer. We've already seen that Heed is more than happy to kind of stick his face in the enemy blue buff, and you can see him waiting around the corner, trying to see if Mast is going to be on time to this buff because he really wants to contest it. But you just saw there, the ping's coming out from blue again. Baskin has rotated over, and he's looking for the mid camps, but he could also be making his way downtown to take down Heed.
Elevate not quite in position just yet, but Nemesis finally deciding to show up. Not quite on time to secure that buff, though. It will fall down the way of Baskin and the boys. Nice and secured there, but the totem will go down in favor of Elevate, so they're not going to be complaining about it too much, and they're going to go back and secure their own blue buff now. This is the first kind of presence we've seen from junglers, as we've been discussing, so potentially now is when we're going to start seeing these rotations being made, especially now with level 7 on Nemesis and 6 on Habois, these ultimates being available. I'm potentially looking for a kill onto Meerkat.
I mean, you would assume so, right? But Meerkat is on the soul, has a lot of self-heal and the immunity in the kit, so we'll be able to use that maybe to his advantage, but the first one to go down is going to be Heed. Crushing Wave is good, and that's a first blood here for the Habois jungle, and that's exactly what I honestly thought was going to happen. Like you said, kill them before they have the sustain, and that's exactly what they did to this King Arthur. No Glad Shield available for him anymore, at least not in its old form, and he's not even going the Soul Eater.
No, he's instead opting to what I can only assume will be a Stone of Gaia, which I absolutely love coming out of this pick as... What just happened? Meerkat just died. I'm assuming some... Can we get a replay on that? That was so quick.
I mean, Renjaru and Shio were positioned very high in this lane, and clearly, somehow, Soul got caught out without using the CC immunity of the ult. Ult is available still for Shia too, so it looks like that wasn't even used to take him down.
Well, I'm shook to my very core. I'm gonna yell soloed, even though it was a 2v1, but Renjaru got the kill, so it's obviously a solo. And again, missing a kill in the mid lane here. Spreen wipes the floor with Mask. Both junglers show up into this mid lane jungle, just into the mid lane. It is a jungle though, and I mean, Master's going to fall down. That's going to be huge, especially seeing his Nemesis is already just that little bit ahead. And now we're going to see Elevate surging into the jungle. He pops the ult there, but Baskin is able to run away. So, I mean...
At this point, they're looking for the blue buff, yeah, and over on this left side, we're seeing Shia zone out Gino. They were able to steal that one away, so getting a little revenge there for Heed. He fell down earlier, but... It means that he's now just going to have a little bit more support from Spreen, and here we go with the replay onto this solo kill. Oh, not really solo kill, but the only one over here in this lane. Nice shot there by Renjar to take down Meerkat to give himself a nice early advantage.
See, what I thought it was Sol not respecting the range out of Renjaru, but just gets caught up a little bit too far ahead in lane, and the CC is going to be good from Elevate picking up that kill, so props to them, and they're really putting on a good show here. 7-1 are the kills on the doors, but having a look at the graphs should tell us that the game's actually dead even. Baskin and the boys doing such a good job of farming.
Literally. I mean, it's less than 10 or so gold that we just saw the lead, and it's now only been pushed about to 100, and again, back to that double-digit mark. That is insane, considering how far in this game we are. We're about to hit that 10-minute mark at this point, and this is kind of when things are going to get spicy. Once we head up at 5 or so more minutes, people are going to start to be hitting level 12, and that's when the game really will open up and people will feel more comfortable to be a little bit more aggressive, because once we hit 12, we start to see those second relics, and if I'm looking at Elevate, we've got to be getting a Sunder or not to deal with this Nike.
I completely agree. It's one of the reasons I feel like Nike's fallen out of favor a little bit, although clearly not too much, is over in the mid lane, Master's looking like he might fall down here, and the blink from Nemesis is going to secure it, but up above, on the complete flip side of the map, is going to be the fall down from Shira, but back here over towards these mid harpies is going to be Heed, who's looking a little worse for wear, and is in fact going to fall down to Uzi, so that's going to be a kill for the Nike. I'm going to shout soloed here, even though it was a 3v2, but he got the kill, so soloed.
Not a good look for this King Arthur so far, and it might not be a good look for this red buff either, but Gino puts down the ward. He knows it's not quite up yet, but it will be spawning in the next minute or so, so they do have that bit of time to just hang around mid and wait. But Belugan knows what the plan is, so he's calling his squad over saying, hey guys, they want this buff. They're showing that they're being extra aggressive, but Nemesis is actually heading back to base, and hopefully that will give her just enough time to reset and get on back, but it might not be enough. But instead, Gino will be backing on up. He says, all right, I'm just going to head back too. And I'm honestly really interested in the build that Gino's going here too, because it looks like that's an urchin.
It is an urchin, eventually. That's okay. Theory craft for this is that not Gino has decided, as someone who normally plays aggressive supports, and given the fact that Yamoja has so much, you know, inherent supportiness to her kit, maybe he decides that he doesn't need support items. But
I like the thought process here, because if you're buying this item at the beginning of the game, it's certainly going to get stacked, right, by the end of the game. There's no shot that he's not participating in the number of kills he needs to get it stacked, right?
I mean, it all depends on how well he can be not only involved in these fights, but how well Baskin and the boys can actually secure these kills. Only 3 on the doors for them at the moment, although, as you said, we're not quite level 12 yet, so I'm sure that this game will go from 0 to 100 real quick as soon as people start getting these second relics online. As just back to farming at the moment. This is really strange to see just how slow this game is going at the moment.
I mean, both these guys have drafted a fairly late game comp. They do have the early game coming out of, you know, Renjaru on one side, Gino on the other, and Baskin's kind of good at every stage of the game, right? So having those characters to kind of bounce it out on both sides means, you know, it's okay to fight at this point, but you'd rather wait for there to be more on the line and having more to keep yourself safe, because, you know, we've talked about this is the very key moment in the game. Everybody's starting to hit that level 12 mark, so once they make this reset, pick up their second relics, they'll feel at least more comfortable to get into the fight.
And where do you think that fight will take place? Do you think we'll see an objective fight, or maybe just an arena-style skirmish?
They could be fighting around objectives, but neither team really has good objective burn. Of course, we have Gino with a giant ability to just kind of seal off a whole area around an objective, so we could be seeing that come out. But on the other side, we also have Shia coming through with a washing machine, being able to, you know, force people to not group up as much, or else they're all coming on a ride with him.
So it could be interesting to see either way. I completely agree. I'm not really sure what I mean. Obviously, we know what these players are going to be doing, but it's been such a slow burn that I'm not really sure where this next fight is going to break out. Like you said, could definitely be over a team fight, but who, where, when? Looks like it could be over here towards the left lane. Renjaru is getting looked at by Gino, but apparently has the sense to just back off, so good on him. But now look at this positioning from Baskin and the boys. Could be looking towards this Gold Fury, and that's exactly what they're going to start doing.
I mean, Shia knows this is going on, right? He saw 3 members group up around here, and he's standing right in their face at this point, but he's got to be careful because all 5 members of Baskin and the boys have grouped up, and everybody from Elevate just seems so scared. They're not willing to go in, except for Shia, who's the hero we need, blinks in and tries to get the Gold Fury, but it is still secured by Baskin.
Not quite on the mark was the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, but it's going to be a kill on the way of Elevate. Down the way of Elevate. Baskin and the boys do pick up a trade in return, but I'm not sure anything else can come of this fight, as Baskin and the boys may look to do either Pyro or a Tier 1 tower in mid here in return. But I think Elevate could be in position to defend here with Baskin and Spreen just kind of looking into the mid lane.
They could have actually gone to push that, right? Because there's no ultimate from Spreen or Bluegan, but instead they are going to go over for this Pyromancer, and you know, you can't be mad at getting stuff, right? You got a free Pyromancer, but you could have pushed that even farther, I think. You had 5 members grouped up here, but now Heat is kind of stuck. He gets stunned out, and that's a dead King Arthur.
Gino showing his salt on Yamoja, catches the walk, catches the dash. I mean, just perfectly played there by Gino. I think, in fact, it was pixel perfect on the stun from the spin to win on the Royal Beyblade. But he's gonna fall down, and Baskin of the boys, I think, overall, I think they win out on this trade. Elevate do pick up a Gold Fury, but Pyro Giant, there it is again. Pyro and also a 2 kills for Baskin of the boys there in that fight. I think that's pretty worth, and the graphs are going to reflect that as well.
At this point, though, both objectives are down, so if we're going to see anything, it's going to be off the tower push or an invade. And honestly, tower push is the more likely because we're already seeing over on this right-hand side, Uzi is chewing away at this solo lane tower, and it's honestly going to be gone. It looks like just enough minions at his back to be able to keep that one at bay. And down it falls, which just continues to open up the map even further for Baskin and the boys. And of course, it's not as good technically as taking down the mid tower that they could have done earlier, but again, you can't be mad at getting free stuff.
You win some, you lose some. Now, Lermy, let's talk item builds, shall we? I am really interested to see that both the solo laners here have picked up Stone of Gaia, whereas it definitely favors Arthur because of the amount of knockups. What do you think of it on the Nike against really the only knockup being on Heat himself?
I mean, it's not bad, right? It's got that amazing passive of giving you a ton of percent health per second, so that is, you know, it's there, it's helpful, it's nice, and of course, if you don't have the Sentinel of Zeus to be able to immune away the spin to win from Shia, you are going to be getting a ton of health back, and even if you just get knocked up or peeled away, it would be nice to have that on your side as well. And of course, don't forget, there is a knock-up in the King Arthur combo, so that could be useful as well, at least in the 1v1 over here in the solo lane, which seems to have been a little bit less of a 1v1 than I think he would have liked.
Potentially. Heat's doing fine at the moment. He's not really struggling. He's definitely falling further behind than he was in the last game. 0-3-0 on the King Arthur. Not really being able to find anything substantial. Does go for the sledge, though, after that Stone of Gaia. So, I mean, it could be looking worse.
For sure, and of course King Arthur will struggle in this meta, but he still, again, has the pure might coming out of all of those abilities, and it's always nice to have a long-range AoE stun that's practically up all the time. If he's able to survive it out and get up some of that energy, he's going to be able to have a pretty solid impact in fights, especially considering there's a lot of single target focus coming out from the comp of Elevate. I mean, they've got the Divine Judgment coming out from Screen, Logan's got the Apple of Discord, so combining those two onto one target will be really, really nice. It's all about if the accuracy will be there, and of course you can't miss Nemesis health, but it's going to be all up to Blue going to be hitting these apples.
Yeah, and it's also a case of we haven't really seen anything like that from Elevate just yet. You make an excellent point of that is definitely what the objective should be. It should be Spreen ulting someone and then Bluegan just evaporating them into the pavement, but we haven't really seen anything of the sort, and again, it could be because of the pace of the game. It looks like it could be another backburner like last game. Hopefully not me reaching all the way over to 40 minutes, but there's... what is that, 8 kills at 17 minutes into the game? You got to start wondering how long is this going to go on for as Baskin and the boys start to position their place into the next Gold Fury pit.
I mean, it might not even be the Gold Fury, it might just be on the Shia here, as the carpet does come out, spin to win also being popped, but Uzi immunes it, pops the thorns as well, but the skull does come out, and the damage is almost good enough to take down one, but Shia's gotta run!
Blink in from Habwa is going to find the kill there, and now Heat is going to be the one trying to make an impact. Does find Baskin in the mid lane, but this team is so far apart that there's just so much going on. Now it's Meerkat being looked at here. He might be in trouble here. Sorry, Mars being looked at here in the mid lane. He might be in trouble. He could fall down, but the wet carpet is going to do him justice. Maybe finding his way out in the backline. Heat looking to back out. Spreen, though, I thought he was going to look to wrap around the back of that tier 2 tower to find the kill, but Instead, just makes his way out, and now this could be a prime fury for Baskin and the boys.
He, though, is showing his placement here. He did shoot his one over the wall, so he will be spotted out. And Uzzy is there to deter any kind of engagement that he might try. And honestly, 1 versus 4 here, it's not going to be a good look, especially with that frenzy pop. And Uzzy's even going to take one down himself.
Absolute devastation there coming out of the ultimate. I always forget how much damage that does, but another kill going to head the way of Baskin and the boys as they pick up Heed, who is maybe getting a little too greedy. He's going to set up Baskin and the boys for a pretty much free Primal Fury. I mean, free plus extras. They got a goodie bag alongside that Primal Fury.
You leave the party with the Gold Fury in tow, and you've also got 2 kills in your back pocket, so who would not love to have that? Especially because Baskin and the boys are now touting about a 4,000 gold lead, and this is where it starts to get substantial, because you can already see here that Baskin is 2 levels up against Bluegan. If we can take a look at the player damage charts, I bet you that we're going to be seeing a very similar story on those.
I mean, having a look, it's actually going to be the solo laners. Baskin not really finding the damage just yet, although, to be fair to him, it isn't 36 minutes into the game, so solo laners are definitely going to be kind of skewing that graph a little bit, but Uzzy definitely making his appearance made into this game so far with a hefty 13,000 player damage. So definitely shows us who's making the big impacts as well. Habwa, Sol, and Hachiman all real close together, so the heavy hitters definitely over here on Baskin and the boys.
I mean, you say that right, but there's also this King Arthur with the 12k that's getting boosted up a little bit because of this Discordia passive, so you gotta take that into account. A little bit of bonus power is real nice for these guys, but everybody's walking into the Riptide here as Bluegan actually is forced to use the beams to walk on out of that one, and Heat is the one getting focused out here. 3 members on him right now.
He might not be able to find his way out. Arthur is a slippery boy, but not slippery enough. Habwa's gonna put him in the ground. Mars claims a kill. Number 4 on his belt, and that's going to be a Pyromancer as well in favor of the boys plus Baskin. So I think that they're starting to run away with this a little bit. 6k lead here at the 20-minute mark. Only a minimal amount of kills coming out of both of these teams. So it's really showing this objective-based style of gameplay that Baskin has such a lot of familiarity with his many years of experience as the tier 1 falls in mid, and tier 2 looks like it's going to fall down just as quickly as the fight is going to break out, and now it's already going to fall down, potentially. Half health on the tower. Damage coming through, though.
Nice strike there to put some solid damage, but the one who's getting damaged the most is going to be the tower. Water Hands forcing out the Aegis from Bluegan, and the knockup was almost good enough, but the stripe on the way out to put some solid damage onto the boys means that they might have to back out here, but they're really considering staying in. There's not a whole lot left to do, but they're going to back out as a squad, steal away these camps, and hopefully they don't overstay their welcome because everyone's back up from Elevate, and they could continue to pick a fight.
Trying to elevate their score with just a kill or 2 more. They are the boys in blue, but I'm not sure they can find any food for themselves. They're just going to look to pick up these Oreos, get that free vision over nothing because there's no Gold Fury there. But, I mean, it's a small boon for themselves, just trying to claim back anything that they can at the moment. Like you said, Baskin and the boys really stripping away this jungle so far, not really leaving as much as a scrap for Elevate. So what kind of things do we need to see Elevate doing here? Like, obviously they need to be trying to farm more, but if there's no farm for them to claim, how are they going to get back into this?
They need to just be paying a little bit more attention to how they're positioning in fights. A lot of times we've been seeing Heat thinking he's still on the Amaterasu from last game and walking up and thinking he can just 1v5 everyone, but this time he has selected the King Arthur, a character that the community kind of touts as losing his way now that his core item is gone. So he hasn't made it to this late game, you might say, but he is sitting at 1-5-0, so he does have a kill to his name, but at what cost?
Yeah, it's definitely not looking so great for King Arthur. Didn't go for the Soul Eater at all, like you said that he might potentially look into, so not really too much sustain for him here as he's trying to run away from the boys in red once again. Does force out Baskin's ultimate, though. So a little bit of space there coming out from Baskin and the boys, but they're going to use this to potentially look to engage onto the Fire Giant, or in fact completely prove me wrong and go straight back to the mid lane.
There's nothing more to push in this mid, though. Maybe they're just trying to get the pressure on the minions, and of course, Gold Fury is respawning in about 30 or so seconds, and this will be the last regular Gold Fury of the match, but Ozzy is trying to bait out someone to come straight into him, but instead it's going to be Heed, once again, all in his lonesome on this right side, and if they want, Baskin and the boys could hop off this fire giant at any second and turn right on these tanks.
And that is exactly what they plan on doing. Into the backline goes Uzi straight away, looking to zone away some people, but it's actually going to be Shia who's going to be the first person to fall, getting caught out by the rest of the team, but the health bars on Baskin are low. It's going to be King Arthur. He picks up that first blood for Elevate in this fight, but I'm not sure he can survive for too much longer as two players are going to collapse onto him. And that health bar can only stretch so fast. Queen is going to get jumped on, but the shield from Nemesis is going to be good. That is some insane healing, pulling him all the way back up from a quarter to half. But now with this extra space and two people down on Elevate, I don't think there's much Baskin and the boys have to worry about when trying to claim this fire giant.
Of course, there could be some sort of six strike coming over the wall, but the frenzy has been popped and Nike is in there. The pushes are quite obnoxious, and there goes the jump from Renjaro, and all the while it's been Gino tanking up this fire giant, and that's gonna be it. It goes down, and on the backhand side, Screen is trying to wrap around and zone off the rest of the back line, but it's not working out quite enough. Ozzy is just way too tanky, man.
Oh my goodness, the ultimate finishes off Discordia, who was on about an eighth of her HP, and now she's still surging forward. Look at this, going so deep there, forcing out Renjaro, who just does not have a ghost of a chance of fighting his way back into that, is forced to Aegis and runs away back to his base. Now it's the Phoenix being looked at, or is it Shia being looked at? Not so sure. This is going to get knocked back up into Baskin and the boys, but I think they're starting to realize potentially we need to wait for this next wave to come through before we can actually siege up this Firebird.
Either that or just wait for Baskin to show up, and unfortunately he is the only member of his boys who does not have the fire giant around his waist, but not the biggest deal in the world. Of course, there's still a lot of stuff to do on the map. Gold Fury is available in tier 2 on that left-hand side, so honestly, going back, spending your gold, and coming straight on through down that left-hand side is not a bad game plan, because if they decide to keep on heading down that side, the left-hand side Phoenix would be vulnerable, and that really is the one that you want to go after. If you have your pick of all the Phoenixes, go after that left one, because it will pour fire minions down the left-hand side, and that's the farthest one away from the fire giant, and that's exactly what you love to see, because you can't be leaving those fire minions alone.
Exactly, like I said last game, those archers are spicy if they manage to make it to your Titan room. So definitely, that's definitely the plan coming out from Baskin and the boys, and you can see that already as they're starting to group up over towards this left-hand side. Bluegan and Shia, they're just chilling, they're vibing with the mid Phoenix. They're just kind of... I love the idle walk animation for Discordia. She just kind of like floats around, like swimming through the air. It's just the perfect vibe. And that's exactly what they're doing whilst they're waiting for Baskin and the boys, who, in the distance, are laying waste to the structures on the side of Elevate now. Not able to vibe anymore is Discordia, as she's faced with an entire roster of red jerseys, and the wave is pushing in now, so it's going to be down to Elevate to see if they can try and pick up this Phoenix.
Gino is going to be the one to at least hold the front line for now. Split push has been negated at this point because we've got masked over here on this left-hand side, and Gino is going to be rooted out, but here comes the beginning of the fight as Shia tries to make some room, but the Apple of Discord comes down onto the tank and doesn't do enough.
Not quite in time was the Divine Judgment to shred. So the damage from Apple, like you said, didn't quite finish it off, but Baskin's going to start off the party here. He's going to claim the life of Spreen, and that's going to be huge. The second man falls down, and now it's going to be Bluegan, who's trying to claw his way out of the ground. He's dead already, and it's going to be a second kill now. 3 men down already. This could look like it is all over now for Elevate. It's all down to Heed. Heed is going to fall, so it's now no longer down to Heed. It's all going to be down to Ren. But I don't think he has the AoE damage to quite clean this up, as the Titan is starting to fall, as the attention of Baskin and boys is going to fall straight back onto it. And with 5 members here, all with Fire Giant, I don't think it ever stood a chance. Baskin and the boys pick up a very, very, well, saying confident 2-0 is maybe understating the first game, but that second game was crisp.
Hey man, they cleaned it up a lot in the second game, and you could really see it. Of course, there might have been a couple of iffy picks and bans there in the beginning. You know, I'm not
Serrated
looking
edge
at
on
anyone no. I was talking more along the lines of the King Arthur coming through, but that doesn't discount how. Of course,
Me too.
right?
Me too.
There were a little ups and downs. You know, we had some exciting bits and bobs here in this set, but it was honestly a great one to watch. But again, congratulations to Baskin and the boys. They take this one 2-0, and I'd say that was wholeheartedly a huge W from them.
For sure. I mean, not to discount Elevate, though. Like I said last game, I don't think there was a single weak performance that I could pick out here. He definitely didn't have the best of games. Like you said, he thought he was still on the Amaterasu, still playing super aggressive, still, I'm all up in your face and I'm going to fight you. But the King Arthur not really able to do that anymore with the removal of Glad Shield. So a little weak from Heed in that second game. But other than that, I really can't pick a weak link from either of these two teams.
Yeah, like you said, you've got to give credit over to Elevate. They took Baskin and the boys to an almost 50-minute game, and that can't be understated because it's Baskin and his boys. That doesn't happen very much where there's really anyone that can get in their way or slow them down, and we really saw potential for the boys of Elevate to bring it back and take one for themselves.
I'd like to suggest a name change. I want it to be the boys featuring Baskin. I think that it just has so much more of a flair to it. And flair is definitely what this team has. Not only have they got that star power, but they got the skills to back it up. As we can see here, 627, 216, 002. I mean, okay, I've just remembered this, right? Gino played absolutely phenomenally on this Umoja.
Oh yeah, he had some crazy plays there, getting some solid riptides, able to hit some people with, you know, the moonburst, and like you said, he got a pixel perfect that one time up against the King Arthur, stopping the spin to win and nailing him down. So honestly, the play from Gino, who was typically a warrior player, mind you, was phenomenal. Gotta give him that little bit of highlight because clearly he did some work. And check out that 9k healing, basically eliminating the damage that Spreen did and more.
Spreen only picking up 7k damage there on a Nemesis. That is not what you want to see at all. I think, again, it's the disadvantage of picking the Nemesis straight away, and then Baskin and co just managed to pick around it. Just not really finding the impact with Spreen that game, I suppose. So that's super unfortunate. But did he build Serrated Edge?
Not this time, thank goodness, but at the very least, we did see some solid improvement from Elevate, especially with their new-ish roster. These boys are not new to the SCC by any means, but, you know, it's kind of a mix-up here from different rosters combined into this Elevate one and made anew. So regardless, Baskin and the boys are still as good as ever, and Elevate are making their way up.
Well, just to recap for people who may have missed the two sets, this is going to be a 2-0 for Hype Unit in the first set, and we've just witnessed a wonderfully stressful 2-0 from Baskin and the boys versus Elevate. That is going to be it for us over here in the SCC caster desk for tonight. Lummy Wormy, thank you so much. I've had a fantastic evening once again.
Yeah, me too. It's been real fun, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying the SCC as much as we have over here, because we'll be back every single weekend bringing you some more action.
Ladies and gentlemen, like Lemmy just said, more action to come, so stay right where you are, and we'll see you next weekend.